Hey everybody, and welcome to the second ever episode of Culture Shocks with Fredrik and Stefan.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. We can say welcome back for the first time ever.
Yeah.
We're really rolling along here.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing we want to do is say thank you to all the people that watched our first episode. Already almost 150 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy in a week. And
I did not at all imagine that would be the case, so thank you very much for that.
We're very pleased with that. And also, if you guys want to listen to this, if YouTube isn't your thing, of course we have this on Spotify, Apple, Google, all the podcast platforms.
Everywhere. And basically, something funny for me was that this podcast, me posting it on my story, made me like reconnect with some people from when I used to live in Texas a few years back. They hit me up and was like, "Oh, cool, I'll listen and like I'll subscribe and all that." It's really cool.
Yeah.
And my Swedish friends were like, "I don't really get it. Should I watch YouTube? Should I watch Spotify? Like, what do I do?" It's on both platforms.
Yeah, that was sort of the feedback that I was getting. They're like, I thought it was a podcast. Why are you sharing on YouTube? But I always watch and listen to my podcast on YouTube myself personally. So that's where I've mostly been talking about it or promoting it.
Yeah. There's not like too many big filmed podcasts in Sweden, I think.
Yeah.
It's more of a thing in the US, maybe?
Most of the podcasts that I really enjoy are US based and they have video. Like my favorite podcast is Joe Rogan. JRE, Joe Rogan Experience. But now they took him off of YouTube because he signed a deal with Spotify. It was like $100 million deal. So our boy Joe Rogan signed with a Swedish company, made a bunch of money.
He did, Swede takeover.
I mean, would you do that? Would you take
$100 million? Yeah, probably would. Yeah, honestly,
as we're sitting here, we can't really say we wouldn't do that, but I mean, he deserves it. He's worked really hard. And he's got
But does that mean Spotify's going to start video? You think?
Yeah. He has. Spotify now has video podcasts, but only for like certain creators. So like, I don't think we could put our podcast on Spotify because we're not a known podcast entity yet. But for the top creators, I think. But one of the things that people are complaining about is that they can't write comments on Joe Rogan's podcast because that was the best part about watching his clips on YouTube is that everybody's commenting, and I love going through and seeing what people are commenting. But on Spotify, you can't do that. I don't think. I'm not an expert. I don't watch them on Spotify.
Well,
so.
I suppose like the commenting part is a big part of it. I guess like you want to post your opinion about what you're seeing basically. But that's never really been a thing on Spotify. I feel like you just listen and. I've been talking a lot about podcasts this past week because obviously we launched our podcast. And a lot of people, they tell me like, just chuck it on in the background, just like when I clean or like whatever, I go to the bus, I can just have it on. So I'm going to listen to, most of my friends are going to listen to it on Spotify. And they just don't really get like us sitting here talking. Like, why would I watch that? And I'm honestly, I don't really know.
Well, for me, I have like YouTube Premium, which comes with YouTube Music. And I love it. So I don't want to have ads on YouTube because I watch so much YouTube. And also when you have YouTube Premium, you can still listen when your phone is locked. Which you can't do if you don't have YouTube Premium. I don't think you used to be able to do it, but you can't anymore.
No, you can't.
So for me, it's like I might as well just watch the podcast on YouTube because I can pull it up and look at them if they mention something. That makes sense, I can just have it in the background.
So it's like the same thing for you, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I will normally listen to podcasts as well. So if Spotify is more your cup of tea, then maybe that's the.
I wonder if there's more data. Like if you put our video on and you just lock your phone. Like rather than being on Spotify listening, probably.
Dude,
right?
I'm not a tech expert, so I actually have no idea.
If somebody knows, check it in the comments,
please. I
was
thinking about this though, like platforms like Spotify. Like, what if you could like comment on other people's music? Like, you always have comments like on YouTube. I love comments on YouTube videos. Being a YouTuber, I like to go through and see what people write. And actually, just today we were talking about because I've been doing more like finance videos on my main YouTube channel. One person was like, what the heck? I didn't sign up for this. Like, why is it a finance video now? Your videos are so boring now. And before I even read his comment, one of my other subscribers went in and commented, he just gave you a bunch of great free information and you're complaining about. So like he was defending me. I was like, I love that when your subscribers are defending you before you even have a chance to read your mean comments. They're like, oh, my subscribers got my back here.
I just told Stefan actually, like I would I would probably have a harder time adjusting to like mean comments because I mean obviously you've been doing YouTube for years, and you're sort of polarized to it. But then again, you get a lot of positive feedback as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not used to it at all. We had like 20 comments on our last video. And I just read through them all, and we're like nervous someone's gonna say something weird, like your accent is weird, whatever, like anything, you know. But I guess you just get used to it, right?
You do. I mean, I think the mean comments that I got at first, I think my YouTube channel, it basically started getting recommended out to those like extreme right-wing groups. Because when you produce content about Sweden like 3 years ago, there was a lot of people from like the really like right-wing parties that were really anti-immigration that were like, oh, Sweden's changed so much and it's not good to be in Sweden anymore and blah blah blah. So I was getting a lot of hate comments, but they weren't really directed at me. They were more like directed at Sweden in general. When I had like my first videos about Sweden like really take off and go viral. And I was just like, okay, like I'm living here and I love it in Sweden, and I think it's great. So I don't understand like why all these people are like hating on it. It's like you can hate on it a lot. And then like the biggest hate comments I would get is like people would say I have a big forehead. So people are like,
it's huge. But I mean,
you could land a plane on that. And, you know, you're like, I'm reading all your...
See, that's just funny. Like that was just. No, I get that. That would get me insecure.
I guess it's a 5 head.
But dude, that would get me insecure like instantly. I'd be like, whoa, people actually think about that? Like I understand that joke wise. Like if my friend would be like, oh, you got a huge forehead. I'm like, yeah, I don't actually. But if you're a stranger, just comment, I'll be like, hey, what the heck? Like, do I?
You develop a thick skin with YouTube. And the thing with YouTube is because most of the people that follow me and watch my videos, they are so positive. So you're just gonna get some negative comments. Like that's just part of it. And I think when you get like 95% like super positive, like extremely nice people, if you get like 1 out of 20 comments that is bad, you can handle it because there's so many people supporting you.
You know it's good. You know.
Back.
There's always going to be trolls. But hey, think about that when you comment.
Now we're going to have people commenting like people just to be mean. We're like, we need to get this ratio below 1 to 20. We need to get this, like, we need a lot more mean comments to tear down their self-esteem here.
Well, I guess I'll develop a thick skin eventually. I don't know. Maybe I'm just happy with the 150 subscriber amount. It's just like the perfect amount.
It's so exciting starting in the beginning because like with my YouTube channel now, if I get 150 subscribers in a week, it's like, oh, that wasn't a good week. But now it's like starting from 0 and going from 0 to 150. It's like, wow, this is really, really cool.
In like 5 days.
150 people that like had no idea that we wanted to do this are now like they signed up to watch this.
They had nothing better to do than listen to us. It's great, right?
I hope we are able to provide some value. And that's the thing about podcasts is you can just throw them on in the background. So if you rather listen to us ramble on instead of like listen to music,
instead of your own friends, then exactly. Maybe we should move into the talking points of the day, which is another sort of common ground for us, which I think could be kind of interesting to discuss. It's basically Swedish and American girlfriends ish. Like we've both dated Swedish and American girls, and just like the basic differences. So
what was your favorite?
We need names.
Which girl was your favorite girlfriend?
No, that's not. No. I'm in a perfectly stable, perfect relationship. I'm like really happy.
See, this is the thing that I like to do when a lot of people at parties or whatnot, they'll ask like, how many people have you been with? And I don't like to, announce that number publicly. Not trying to.
No, I know. Whether it's low or high, like I get it. It's a kind of a private number.
But I think the more interesting question that nobody asks is, how many countries have you been with? Because you're not directly admitting how many people you've been with, but it is sort of interesting to hear people's responses about how many.
Have you banged the world, basically?
There is an app that you can have on your phone. I think it's
mark
called...
each country?
You mark each country that you've traveled to.
No way.
But I guess you could have like that app also for like people that you've been with, or like those little scratch maps.
Oh yeah.
Imagine like,
instead of like these are countries I've been to, these are countries that I've really been to, you know?
Imagine people that come over to your house and they like,
nice map, bro.
Haven't you been to Mexico? No.
Well, what do you mean Mexico? What do you mean been? Yeah. What do you mean been to?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
So you gotta have a different definition. For that. Or like, like I didn't know you've been to Israel before. You're like, long story, man. you just be selective.
that was a trip and a half.
Yeah. You just be selective about what like which guest you're gonna tell what it actually means.
Yeah, we should do that. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's say, how many serious relationships would you say you've had, Stefan?
Oh, I would say there was the girl I dated in high school for a year.
Mm-hmm. American.
The girl I dated in college for a year, who was American.
Yeah.
And then directly after college, I moved back home and did my master's degree, and that's when I met Lynn, the first Swedish girl I was dating.
Yeah.
We dated for like 1.5 to 2 years, depending on how you calculate it, because we did some long distance. We weren't technically together, and got back together and all this sort of stuff. And then when I moved to Stockholm, I was single again for a while, and then I dated one other Swedish girl for about a year.
All right.
So of my serious relationships, I've had 2 Americans, 2 Swedes.
50%.
Yeah.
Perfect mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say there's an obvious difference? Like, what would be the first obvious difference you would think of?
It's tough because every girl is different. I mean, it's tough to say all American girls are the same or all Swedish girls are the same.
They're not, but...
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, in general, Americans tend to be more outgoing from the start. Swedish people, it takes a bit more time warming up, getting to know them a little bit more. But I think about like the first Swedish girl that I dated, Lynn, who's been on my channel many times.
Yeah, Lynn.
When she and I started dating in America, the thing that I was really drawn to was her adventurous spirit. The fact that she wanted to travel all around America, all around different countries. Like in her year in America, she was going to LA, she'd gone to New York, Chicago, she went to Hawaii.
She just wanted to travel,
Vegas. And I was like, wow, I've lived in America my whole life.
Yeah.
And I've barely seen my own country.
Yeah. That was a big interest for you as well, to like travel. So
exactly.
I guess that was
she
appealing.
was sort of the person that like cultivated that interest from me.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for having dated her, because had I not met her, I don't think I would have been on this path of really seeing that travel was possible, because I always wanted to travel, but I didn't know that I could actually do it as a 20-something.
Yeah.
Because I thought travel is something that you do when you're old and you have money. But then seeing this very young person go to all these places, I'm going, why couldn't I do that?
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, and I was able to come here because of her. So I think having that international relationship really changed the entire course of my life in a positive way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good on you, Lynn. Dang, that was just
and
something.
I think that's why. I think
it's interesting. Like the differences in like travel patterns or whatever. Like I had 2 shorter relationships in Texas and 1 serious in New York, which was a little bit longer. And my girlfriend in New York, she kept telling me like, I'm gonna get a passport so I can come see you. And she was like 20. I'm like, you don't have a passport? Like, what is this? And I started like looking into it, and a lot of my Texas friends didn't even have a passport. Like some of them had never been outside of Texas.
Yeah, that's sort of the thing you do as an American if you're gonna go on a trip. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get my passport so I can travel.
Yeah, and to me, I got my first passport when I was like 3. You know, like that's just a thing here. I guess obviously the country's a lot smaller. In America, I guess you could get skiing if you want to go skiing. You could go to Hawaii and get the beaches. You could get the big city life. You kind of have everything within the city boundaries. And going to Europe is looked upon as this big adventure. Like, I'm gonna go to a Euro trip.
Yeah, Europe trip in the summer, backpacking.
And when I was like, I might go for like a weekend in London or Paris or whatever. Like everyone. Like all my American friends will be like, wow, it's just so amazing. We can just do that. Wow, the liberty, man. And I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
things are a lot closer together in Europe, which is one of the things I love. Like where I'm from, it's like you can't drive anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you could drive to Seattle, to Portland.
Yeah.
You could
Fun.
see some sights
Fun.
around Washington and Oregon, but like, you're not gonna drive to LA.
Yeah.
17-hour drive from Portland. You know, it's like,
No, you'll fly it.
yeah. And here you can take the train. You can go places. Everything's pretty close. Like 2-hour flight puts you in a lot of places in Europe. So
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So everything's more put together. So I think that's why there's more like tendencies to be more adventurous here. But to me, one obvious, I wouldn't say difference, but like a trait of like American girls would be the overall view of like male, female, and like the different roles were a lot more obvious in America, I would say, than in Sweden. Like in Sweden, obviously the equality mindset and everything is way more progressed. And just, I don't know, I guess everything from taking the first step and asking someone out, it was really like, it was expected of me as a guy to do that. And like going on a date and everything, that was like an actual thing in America. It was like, oh yeah, are we in a date? Whereas in Sweden, it's like, we'll hang out, watch a movie, go for a walk. We would never like really call it a date or dating. Like it was either like we're together or we're not. In America, it was like we dated for a while and then we decided if we were a couple or not. You know, and I don't know, that was sort of like the most obvious difference to me was my role as a man in a relationship. Whereas in Sweden, it's more like a partner. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true. There is sort of this vibe in the Swedish relationships of being equal, that you have a true partner, which I think is really, really a nice vibe also. But there is something to be said about having like the male-female dynamics in a relationship too, a little bit. Like I remember a time several months ago, I was on the way home from a poker night, basically in Täby, and I met some guys on the train home who were guys. They're followers of my channel, and they were excited to meet me and all. And we got to talking. I was like, "Oh, what are you guys up to tonight?" They were young guys, 18, 19 years old, I think. And they were, "Oh, we're gonna go to the bar," and blah blah blah. And I started to ask them about their dating lives and blah blah blah.
Cool.
And do you talk to girls? Like, what do you do? And they're like, "No, we don't really like flirt with girls or talk to girls. We if they're into us, then they'll approach us." And as an American, I'm going, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
No, that's not the game you want to play.
And granted, I was several drinks deep at this point, but they had convinced me to go out to the bars with them, and we had a great time because I was just like trying to be the wingman of the year basically for these young guys, and basically like talking to the girls and trying to get them to open up and talk and get them out of their shell of like being not the ones that were going to take the first initiative or the first step. I think that's definitely something that in Sweden, it's sort of like people are so reserved in general.
No, definitely. Like, for sure. I mean, I've grown up to learn that, obviously respect is everything, like respect someone's space. And that was kind of hard for me moving to the US because then like a girl playing hard to get could be a girl saying like really to me really showing she doesn't want to, but then 10 minutes later they would make out in a corner and I'll be like, what the heck, like what? I do not understand. Like they would really like at a party, for instance, someone would try to pick someone up, and they would like in the beginning the girl would be really uninterested, not interested, and to me that would just be like, all right, I would give up instantly because I'd be like, all right, this girl is not interested, fine, I'll go on with my life. But in America, I felt like it was more respected to like keep trying, and a lot of times like girls, like my friends that were female would like really talk about that as a thing, like I mean, this guy's really been trying for like weeks now, and I'm probably gonna like might hook up with him because he keeps putting effort, and that's kind of cute. And I was like, wait, what? Like, to me, that's not a thing at all, and I just did not understand at all.
On the one hand, I think like in America, like girls get approached a lot more often by guys. They're so used to it, so they have to develop these mechanisms to sort of like push the people away that they're not interested in because they can't like give all this time to every single guy that comes up to them. Otherwise, it would be endless. Whereas in Sweden, I feel like people will at least be like nice to you, even if they're not like 100% interested at first. They'll still give you the time of day, because if you actually do approach somebody in Sweden, it doesn't happen all the time like it would in America. So I feel like sometimes in America, like if you go up and talk to a girl, like they sort of have this attitude of like, what does he want from me? Even if you're just like asking like a question about something or whatever, like something random, they're already in that mindset of like, he's the guy, I'm the cute girl, and he wants something from me. Whereas Swedish people, there's just a much more relaxed dynamic, because the girls can make the first move, guys can make the first move. It's more like sort of equal, I suppose, in that way. So it's not like you're not coming into the interaction with like, I'm the person that has something to gain here. It doesn't have that vibe at all, which I think that makes people in Sweden, especially at parties, really easy to talk to.
No, exactly. That's one part of it, and I think the other side of that is basically my experience in the U.S. is that, you know, when the girl is basically expecting you to take the first step. Like that's just, the guy is supposed to lean in to kiss the girl. That's my like what I recollected from living
like Hitch
there.
with Will Smith. You go in 90%, and the girl's got to go in 10.
No, that was like almost a science. I remember in Texas so well. Like, you know, you would be at a party, and you know, when I was single, I always tried to pick up vibes from like, all right, who is this girl interested or not? And a lot of times, like, girls would just not seem interested at all, and I would just like go home or whatever, and I would hear later like, oh, I thought you guys were gonna hook up. I was like, what? No, like she was not interested. Yes, she was. Like that was it was much more expected of the guy to take that, like to just show what he wants. And then it's up to the girl to be like, yeah or not.
I think a way around this for the American girls is like, the girls will like tell their girlfriends who they're interested in, and then the girlfriends will approach you, and be like, "Oh, so and so thinks you're cute," and so it's still sort of on you, but then you sort of got the confidence of like the friends were like, "Oh, she thinks I'm cute."
It's so a big game.
Then there's like an opening there for you to come into.
There's this super weird and awkward situation that happened to be in New York. I was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time and her friend. We were at bars or whatever, and her friend was like, she was single, she was attractive, whatever, and we were at the bar just hanging out and having a good time. These two guys walked up to us, and we're really starting to like hit on my girlfriend and her friend, and like it wasn't weird. Like we were talking to them, like I was going to the bathroom, came back, still talking, and then like my girlfriend's friend, she came to me, she was like, yeah, this guy's like really like she was smiling, but she was like, yeah, he's like really trying so hard, like I'm like, it's fine, you can just like come closer to me and we'll talk, and like he'll go away or whatever. And then 5 minutes later, they're like literally making out, and then she comes back to me again and she's like, yeah, dude, he's really on me. And I'm like, well, you sort of made out with him, like what? Like, do you just want to go? Do you want to leave? She's like, no, it's fine. And then 5 minutes later, they're making out again. And I'm like, what is going on? Like,
this was your girlfriend's friend.
No, my girlfriend. No, not my girlfriend.
What is going on, man?
No. She was, she was chilling. No worries. No, her friend.
For some reason, the story got mixed up.
Yeah. Because, like, my girlfriend's friend was like, yeah, you're a guy, you can protect me kind of vibe. And to me, to start with, that's pretty weird, but whatever. But she just kept making out with this guy, and then like they were doing something else, and we were hanging out, and she would keep saying like how annoying it was but she was also giving off the vibe that she was liking it. So I was like, is this a situation where she can't get out of it, and we should just leave? Like I should just like pull them away and leave? Is this like, is she doing something she doesn't want to? But I can't really read her, and she keeps saying she doesn't, but she does, because she keeps going back talking to them. Like, it was just really awkward, and I just did not understand her whole mindset. Maybe she was just drunk and like, I don't know, semi-light situation. I have no idea. I guess really uncomfortable, because I was like, what is the right thing to do here?
Yeah.
Because she's saying something, but her whole like way of acting around this guy is different.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like talk down. I definitely understand that girls end up in situations where they feel like they don't have a choice, which is terrible, absolutely horrible.
Here's something that I think we need to take into account with this situation. Like girls in America, I think there's much more of a stigma on sex in America. In Sweden, if you meet somebody at a party and you hook up with them, nobody's gonna judge you for that. It's just like it's a very sexually liberated society.
Hook up as in having sex, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can hook up with somebody from a party or somebody that you're on a date with.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna make you feel bad about that.
Yeah.
In America, there's this real thing like slut shaming. And American people are way more worried about what people will think of them if they have one night stands because American girls never want to be seen as being easy in a way. Like there's way more concern.
That whole mindset is just so weird.
That whole mindset is non-existent.
Yeah,
in
here.
Sweden.
Yeah, it's just so alienated for us. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But definitely, 100% have a point.
Yeah, so she was trying to show to you. She was trying to put off this vibes to her and her friends that she's not an easy girl. She doesn't want to be with this person right away, blah, blah, blah. Even if in her subconscious, perhaps, in that moment, she really did want it. She didn't want it to look like it was her decision what she wanted. That would be my only guess.
Yeah, no, that's a great theory. I, to this day, have no clue what happened that night. If, like, she kept doing what she like wanted to do, or if she felt pressure to do it. Because the thing is, I got to know her that night. She's like a really confident, happy, attractive girl who's like really, I mean, confident and just like knows what she wants. Basically, I don't know her, but like she has great friends, childhood friends with my girlfriend at the time. So I sort of got the hint that she was, confident and strong and independent, as you call it. And maybe that's a facade, I don't know. But it was just, the whole situation was just awkward. Interesting thing about what you said about Swedish and American girls, like how they perceive sex and like the overall look on, or how we perceive sex, basically, like how big of a thing it is. That was a big thing in Texas, because Texas is conservative. And God is a big player there.
I was gonna say religion.
A big. God is the MVP there, and the MVP. And they're like, what was really new to me, what I did not expect, was that a lot of people save themselves till marriage. One of my best friends in Texas, I'm not gonna mention her name, but she did that successfully, and I mean, it's just such a outdated thing to do in Sweden. I really admire people who can do that, or not can do that, but who choose to do that, because everyone can do that, but who just chooses to live life that way. And my constant question to her was like, all right, you're gonna marry this dude, right? Greatest dude on earth. But what if, wedding night, you guys decide to do it, and you're like, wow, this is not at all what I expected. And then she was like, for someone who was a virgin at the time, was like, yeah, but it's a work in progress. And I was like, I'm not a virgin, and it's definitely a work in progress. Like, wow, that was definitely. And her whole mindset was just like, sex is something so intimate and private, and I only want to have it with a person I want to share my life with. And that was just such a beautiful thought. And I was like, wow, what am I doing with my life? To me, in my mindset, let's say if I say to myself to marriage, right? Then after I get married and blah, 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 we have great sex for 10 years, then I would naturally start to think, okay, what is this like with like someone else? And I just don't know, like, if you have the mindset of sex is something between me and the love of my life because God, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's
so different. I mean, with every person, it is so different. And I think in one way, when you're with only one person in your whole life, you just sort of appreciate it with that person for what it is.
When they promise in front of God that they're going to love this person forever, that's a huge promise, because they're probably religious, very religious. And especially with the people from Texas. Like, my best friend, who saved herself for her now husband, did it in a great way, and they're happy. They've been married for like a year, but I mean, we'll see 20 years from now. But yeah, I met them both. They're amazing, and we're gonna see them. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have a long and happy marriage. I'm super happy for them. Yeah. But it's so interesting, the different mindsets. Cause like my last girlfriend in New York, my girlfriend that I had in New York, her whole mindset was like, I'm getting a passport. We're gonna see each other like on and on, Sweden, New York for a year, and then we're gonna like, be a thing, and we're gonna like get married and all that stuff. I think that was her like long-term idea, plan or whatever. Yeah.
And you're like, nah.
No, I wasn't nah. Like no, we just didn't have that. I sound like such a douchebag. No, that was not like she was lovely, 100%. I was just at a different point in life. I just wasn't there at all in my mindset. Yeah. Because the whole mindset coming from Sweden, like your 20s is about exploring and knowing what you want. Like in America, it's more so I find the person I want to live life with, and we get married, we have a kid, and the rest just figure itself out.
That's really interesting because the average age of getting married is much older in Sweden if you compare the two.
Huge difference.
And I think about my experience when I was dating Lynn. When we met in America and have dated for 7, 8, 9 months, my view of our future together was much more serious than what she had. Because she's like, oh, you're just the guy that I met while I'm in America.
You're
just
an American guy. Yeah.
And, I have my whole life back in Sweden. I'm going to go back to Sweden. I'm going to start studying, get my life together and do all this stuff. And I was of this mindset of like, maybe wanting it to be a little bit more serious than she did. Yeah. And maybe that's just because Americans normally settle down sooner. And now after having lived in Sweden for 4 years, I'm like 26 now. And I'm like, do I want to get married? Hell no. So
hell no.
Maybe that means I've become more Swedish. And I look at like my friends and family that are getting married in America, oftentimes are younger than me. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it's amazing that they've found this person. And I mean, if I found my person, then I was like, this is my soulmate or whatever, like of course I would be thinking about taking it more serious more quickly, but it's
I think the whole mindset the whole mindset of a soulmate, I think that perception is really different in Sweden and America as well, because like I think if you perceive a soulmate as this like holier than thou persona who's like amazing and you just feel it, I don't think you're ever gonna find that person. Maybe you are, great for you, but in my opinion is that a relationship is a lot of work, and a marriage is supposed to be a lot of freaking work. Like it's you make it work as you go along, you progress as people, you develop as people. And me as a Swede would say, all right, let's say you're married for 20 years, which means banging the same person for 20 years, excuse the expression. And what is a relationship or a marriage after 20 years? Like, is it not just natural for me as a person to like, be sexually attracted by someone else in this person? And is that wrong? Is that love? No, it's not love. That's attraction. It's two different things. And in America, they're just like, and of course, it's a really sensitive topic. And definitely when you love someone and it's really uncontroversial to talk about it this way. But the conversation in Sweden is basically at this stage, discussing like, I think the divorce percentage is like 50%.
Yeah.
And I mean,
interestingly, it's like the same in the U.S.
Oh yeah, all right.
Between Americans.
Bad point, but but yeah, I see. Just my experience from Texas is like marriage is like I follow everyone on Instagram and like there's just engagement rings everywhere. Like everyone's popping the knee and
popping the knee.
Everyone's popping the knee left and right, and here I am.
Left and right. But he was down on both knees.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm in a super sustainable, happy relationship. I'm in love, but I'm not thinking about popping the knee anytime soon,
Yeah.
But I mean, eventually, probably, yeah. But it's just like, that's just not the goal in a relationship here.
Yeah.
It's strange. Like in America, I feel like the person, like the question, when you're 25 and you're dating someone, it's like, all right, could I imagine marrying this person?
Yeah.
Whereas in Sweden, I don't think. I think it's more. I think having a kid is more on top of someone's head, like. Because
which is crazy that they want to have kids before marriage.
Yeah,
in Sweden.
no, that's 100% a thing here.
But it's like you want to have a kid with a person before you're sure about them as a partner.
Yeah,
like don't you want to be sure about the person before you bring?
I'm sure of
family?
myself. Yeah, I can do this.
Because like once you have a kid, you're now a family.
Yeah.
But why would you be a family if you're not sure about the wife part?
Yeah.
That's sort of backwards in my mind still.
Yeah. But I think most of those people just doesn't really value marriage that way. They don't need God to validate their love. They know they love each other. Yeah. They know, like, they usually know that they want to have a kid together, not that they want to get married. Basically meaning the same thing, but I do strongly believe that marriage is just...
a formality.
It's up to you, like, what you put into it. To me, it's more so like it's a celebration of my love with a person, and I want to, invite everyone to a sick party with open bars.
I like that mindset. I do. Yeah. I do like, because I personally am not a super religious person. Yeah. But I still think like it's symbolic of my commitment to that person.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah. I think
exactly.
I think I want my family to start with me and the person that I am forever going to be committed to. Mm-hmm. And I think that starts with marriage before I were to bring a kid into it. Yeah. But that's just me maybe being American.
I think, or I wouldn't say it's just like typically only American, but since we're talking about Sweden and America, I think that's definitely more of the American mindset. I think Swedish would be like, what's to say like I can't start this family, just the two of us, without being married. Yeah. But then there's like legal formalities. If you bring a kid into the world without being married, then the father must apply to be the dad in Sweden. Like they must say like, hey, I'm the dad, and they need to like make a test and just prove it. Legal wise, it's a lot easier.
I wonder if there's ever been a case of like, hey, I'm the dad, and then the doctor's like, actually, you're not.
Dude, probably a lot of them. That would just suck.
That would just be the end. But at least then you're off scot-free, and you're like, I'm walking away while I can. Like, found out the hard way, but it was better sooner than later.
Yeah, better now than the kid's graduation.
They should start that policy in America. I think that would be...
Apply for the dad. But the thing is, one of our really good friends announced this fall that they were pregnant, and they're not married. And our overall perception is like, that it's amazing, obviously. It is great.
I was the most surprised out of all the friends.
Yeah. I mean, they wanted to, but it was like they're first in our friend group to do it. And before they announced it, everyone was like, it's still kind of early. Like, are they sure? Like, But when they announced it, it was like the most sure thing ever. Everyone was like, that's amazing. Great if you just did it. But it's like, it's scary before it's like a fact that they are pregnant. And
I'm very excited for them. I think they are like the perfect people for that.
Yeah.
But then I'm starting to get worried because I'm like the only person in our friend group not in a relationship, and then I'm talking to other people and they're like, this couple's next and then this couple shortly after, and I'm just looking around like, guys, I'm gonna be the only one without a kid. Are we gonna have like child get-togethers? And I'm like, I'm not ready for that. Can we just slow down a little bit? Because like, just if you look at like the standard distribution of like when people are gonna have kids, like they're at the beginning of the curve. That means in the next 5 years, people in our friend group are going to be popping them out left and right. Like, I'm not ready for this. Yeah. That's why I appreciate the one guy in our friend group that is dating a 20-year-old. I'm like, I'm still safe for
They got at least 5 years.
Yeah.
No, but the couple who's pregnant, they're 25, which in Texas or American standards is, I would say, normal. But a lot of my friends in Texas, like I've seen on Instagram, was pregnant at like 18 to 23-ish, 2-3 kids, and that was their perception of like, this is what life's about, which is the very core of life, to reproduce 100%. But it was just me, as my mindset coming from the Swedish culture is just so different. I'm like, to me it's like education and getting a job and steady economy and somewhere to live and someone you love want to live, and then there's kids, you know?
Exactly. That's sort of my mindset too. Like there's so many things I want to accomplish on my own, because once you bring a kid in this world, like that becomes like a very, very large focus in your life. And I feel like there's so many things that I want to accomplish for myself still. I just wouldn't be fair to bring in somebody else that I'm slated to look after.
But then something that's really interesting on the contrary is that one of my very good friends growing up, he got his first kid when he was, I think, 20 or 21. And everyone's really surprised. Maybe it was like 19, something like that. And his girlfriend was 2 or 3 years older. And in the beginning, everyone was sort of like, all right, good luck kind of thing, you know, not really knowing what it was about. And now his youngest is 5 years old. He's got 2 kids, 5 and like 3 or whatever. They have a house in the middle of Sweden. They're like super happy, super beautiful family, and stuff just like worked out for them. And when they had their first kid, I was like, well, wow, you're not really finished with like college yet or whatever you're trying to do. But they just like sort of figured it out. And when I spoke to him years later, he was like, it wasn't like a decision like we're gonna have a kid, but we just said like if we're pregnant, we're pregnant. It's gonna be we're never gonna regret a kid, which you're not. And it was just. It's just beautiful how it all came together in a really great way. So I think both ways are like really great. It's just a matter of what kind of person you are. And
I think like whatever situation you're put into, if you have that mindset of like, we're going to make the most of it, whatever happens, I think that is like the best mindset. And it sounds like that's
a 10x mindset for sure.
Well, we've been talking about this for a long time. I think we could sit here and talk forever, but there's only a 30-minute recording limit on this camera. We've already restarted it once.
It's just funny how like dating America and Sweden just became like kids, family, and religion, because it's a huge topic, and we're probably going to get back to it because there are a lot of really interesting differences between America and Sweden. As in like the deep mindset of it, and like what's the point of it basically.
It is truly actually very different in both countries, and everybody is different.
All countries.
There are definitely some trends between Sweden and I just think that religion probably does play a big part of it.
100%.
The more I've thought about it and the more we've talked, like it makes sense.
No, religion is a big part, and just Sweden not being religious at all, I think is a huge factor to why we are as progressive as we are. And
crazy. So we're interested to see what you guys have to think in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Spotify, I mean, you could go over to YouTube and leave a comment.
But we're not really interested. If you're listening to Spotify, then just stay there.
If you're listening on Spotify, that's chill too. Or
support
any
Sweden.
of the other podcast platforms. We love you wherever you're watching. We're just happy that you're wating it, and we
definitely. Thank you guys very much for listening and for the support. It means a lot to us. And just drop a comment. Don't be negative because it's gonna hurt us.
Actually, hate on Fred because we need to build up his self-esteem.
I need a thick skin for this. No, we're gonna keep doing this regardless. So do what you want. But thank you for the support, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you later.